we're not here to talk about DM sucking. Every DM
I know.
deserves a certain amount of appreciation because it's a lot of work.
It is.
And this is more of a personal observation of when you felt like you as a DM failed, as
Indeed.
opposed to I do not want to hear either one of you tell me when you thought I failed as a DM. Not interested in those
Yeah,
conversations.
I'm not gonna pick on anything either of you have done because I have my own that I will end up talking about. Do one of you want to start or would you like for me to?
I would like some time to think
I can't.
because
It's not that I
I'm
haven't
such a
failed.
wonderful DM.
I
I'm
can't.
really going to have to dig deep to find a failure.
You go first.
So this past week we ran Titan Effect. And I knew I was gonna have some issues. We played Savage Worlds one time, the Street Wolves,
Right.
Right.
roughly 10 hours of
Pure
badass
joy.
bitchin' awesomeness, but
Fuck yeah.
still, I'm a veritable noob to the Savage World system. So I have recommissioned the old iPad from
Yeah.
2012,
It's an
and
original iPad.
it's the only one with
How
the
long did it take
size.
to update?
It won't update anymore.
It
It's at
won't.
like
That's how old.
iOS 9, and it lets you know, like, when you crank her up, hey, this is at iOS 9. You're not going to be able to do a lot of the things you want to do. But in any case, I was reading and trying to catch up, trying to make sure, like, I had everything knowledge wise on Titan Effect down and kind of
I'm thinking
neglected.
back to our conversation about how much prep should a DM do? And you remember I was like, man, I read everything and I read it twice and then I go back through and make notes because I'm so fucking nervous about it. And you guys are looking at me like, you really don't have to do that much. We won't notice. And now I'm hearing John go through exactly what I'm talking about.
No, I had notes, I had an outline. I had all kinds of work done up and completely felt like in the end I bombed it. On top of not knowing as much about the Savage Worlds intricacies as I wanted to, I basically got super nervous and had a brain, not literal aneurysm, but everything just went poof.
Gone.
And like without my notes, I would have been completely fuckered.
Fucker.
And there are a
Completely
couple
fucked.
points where the notes did not have what I needed in there. Like the guys who pursued you were not supposed to be from Titan. They were supposed to be from Ares. But they're from Titan now, Typhon now.
Yep.
And that's the way
Canon.
it's gonna be. And I think it was very humbling because I have never in the course of a game felt so um taken aback by my own incompetence as that particular
Happens to
game.
me weekly.
And then like for the last hour and a half of the stream, it was muted. Not completely hour and a half, but for an hour and a half of that stream, it was muted. And
Yeah.
there was so much going on. And then like the next day, I was like, should I even bother editing that? Should I just talk that up as a practice round? And the next day, Christian is like sharing the link to the Twitch VOD, and I'm like,
I
No,
remember
God.
seeing your comment like,
My
hey,
shame.
dude, maybe not yell so loud until I'm done editing and know if I've got a piece of shit or not.
oh man.
So
Upon
just
editing it, it didn't come off as bad, but in the moment, like I was so like anxiety, like dialed up to 20.
Right.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were you about to say?
I was just going to tell you that PV, who has seen it, that he thought it was great. I was watching it before you guys got over here for tonight's stream. I didn't make it all the way through, but it was pretty smooth. Now, the part where that is about to come up where I'm
Is-
watching is that last battle, and that's not a DM fail. That's a all of us fail.
We
We're
all
all
struggled.
struggling with like I'm shooting a machine gun and didn't take the time to really learn how freaking machine guns work, and we outfitted ourselves poorly.
Yeah.
Well, we probably outfitted ourselves well had we done
Things that
the
worked.
optimum way to run that mission, but we found ourselves instead of in stealth, a slugfest, and we were not prepared for it, and so it just drug it out. But I thought first of all, I had a lot of fun.
Oh
I
yeah.
really loved playing that. And then watching it back, I was like, oh, this isn't as awkward as I felt like it was in some points.
Yeah.
But we were having that same anxiety up to here kind of thing. And there's a couple of times this probably shows on there where Emily and I look at each other like,
I don't know what the fuck to do.
"Get out of
You
this
got something, I
situation."
got nothing.
So
I think the rewards for playing it
Yeah.
are gonna get there. I think I have figured out a few of the things that I can fix for next time, and that's the important thing. Like DM fails are gonna happen. What is more important than the fact that you failed utterly as a GM or a DM is that you learn from it and you do better next time. Like next time, maybe I throw in a hint that he has been spending a lot of time in the wine cellar since he stole the thing, even though the guards didn't know, whatever. Or when they get up there, I could have ran a quick encounter rules because Savage Worlds has those. I have them printed out.
I think the more comfortable you are with a system and or a storyline, the easier it is to make those decisions on the fly. Not just for you, but for us. Like the first game of Call of Cthulhu went very similarly, where me and John were just like, I don't, because you don't know what to ask. You don't, you have not learned how to angle your brain per se to that particular type. And so whenever we start to do something, it's always going to be clunky. It's always going to have its moments of discourse. But, you know, me and Dad felt very much like we failed you. Like at the moment, it felt like he's putting out everything he's supposed to put out. And like, we're just not fucking getting it. Like, what are we doing wrong? Like, how do I beat this gorilla? I keep trying. I think that we all did the best we could given what we had.
I just put it here that it's a dynamic, it's a give and take relationship, right? Um, had we been better at the mechanics of Savage World, that would have run real smooth, right?
It's going to get better on all the ends.
Yeah.
How about you, M? Have you got a DM fail that sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat and just curl up in a fetal position in the corner blowing blues on your harmonica because you're so embarrassed at how badly you did?
Yeah, all the time. No, I wouldn't say it's a specific fail. I do know of what I fail at most commonly. And I've said this 1,000 times. It's magic users. If you guys are playing magic users, or I need to throw a magic user as you it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck. I'm going to lie. I'm going to make up shit that they can do just because I don't understand the mechanic. And you guys are gonna be like, "Why the hell does it have that?" And I'm like, "It's a legendary action." It's not. I just don't know how to play it. Um, I fail in that if it's not something like, especially with like character classes or something like that. If it's not something I personally enjoy, I struggle to learn it, and therefore I struggle to run it. So as a DM, I really fail in being able to learn what you guys are interested in and bring it into the group. And that's something that I try to work on, but it's so hard. Uh, but I definitely fail with anything and everything to do with magic users in system. Like I just suck at it and I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't care how many times you've explained it to me. I don't get it. Get how magic systems work. I don't understand spells per day and slots and levels and all that bullshit.
You get lucky sometimes because, like, I
Cantrips, get
knew
that.
in and out when I was playing a druid what my druid could and could not do. I would police myself.
You did.
Other people,
Yeah, and I'm very lucky for that I can trust you guys. But you guys, I mean, you can probably count on one hand the number of magic users that you guys have actually faced in a campaign I've run.
uh, in
Easily.
any campaign, because your dad sort of shies away from them as well, I feel like. Not as much as you,
It's a
but
lot to manage.
it is a lot to
It's
manage.
so much to manage, and it's so hard.
If there's going to be one, there's going to be one, probably the big bad
Yeah.
and some minions, because just keeping track of what spell slots have been used and
So I think my big DM fail is that if it is too complicated for my little lizard brain to comprehend, we're just not gonna do it.
I feel like that's fair though,
That's a whole half of like D&D.
but I feel like it's fair that you say if we're gonna have a magic user, they're going to do things they're not supposed to be able to do because if that fits the story
Yeah, it's plot armor.
and you're not just like, I point at you,
You dead.
you turn into dust, you are dead, roll up a new character. Like, if you're doing stuff like that, that's a little different. But if you're like casting too many magic missiles, like,
Meh. Yeah. But that would definitely, I think, be my idea. I mean, I can't think of a specific situation. I know I have failed you guys in many instances, but I can't think of one. I have a
Well, do you
squirrel
need
brain.
some specifics?
Yeah,
'Cause
please
John
do.
and I kept some notes.
Yeah, I'd love to hear them. That way at the end I can tell you to fuck yourself. Yeah, I just have a squirrel-sized memory. So I only remember things that were epic. Everything else, I'm like, that didn't happen.
remind me in the break to tell you about squirrels. Steve,
Yeah.
What about you? DM fails.
So it is hard to remember specifics. I think specifically when we were playing Call of Cthulhu Crimson Letters.
Where I killed that kid.
Right. While John was making dolphin sounds.
was that a dolphin?
No, it's like a
Sea lion.
corgi.
Cowboy Bebop
The
reference.
pirate corgi, though.
Yeah.
The corgi.
Corgi.
The body in the morgue.
Yeah.
Right? I don't remember exactly how now, but I remembered quite well the day after that I had messed up on the mechanic of how it became animated and alive and what was happening there. But I think if I was to go larger scale, just
Where you fail.
typical
Yeah.
flaw is not adapting the story or the encounter to what is happening actually in the game. So one thing I know I do, even if there's not like a railroady way to get something done, like, because we've all seen those campaigns or those modules that are written pretty linear. Even if it's a kind of a sandboxing module, when I read through the module, I can't help myself. I'm thinking about how it gets played.
Right.
Like how I would play it, right? And so I think sometimes I get into this, the way to take care of this situation is to do X. And you guys are doing Y. And I think subconsciously, sometimes I just say, well, Y doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because, well, damn it, it's obvious. X is the way to do this thing. So having the idea of how it should be played in my head and not being able to say, stop to myself that the way you're playing it can work, or how do I make it work? Help you guys make it work. I mean, there's sometimes that, banging your head repeatedly against a 5-foot thick concrete wall will not let you escape.
Dressing up as a woman in 15 minutes and going to the police station is not going to
work.
convince the police officer you were a
That was a
different
good
person.
Right.
Cross-dressing
But
at the
to be
police
able
station.
to be able to react to unexpected role play choices from you guys and not let it be like, well, that doesn't work because that's not how I thought you should fix this situation, and instead think more of how could it work.
I'm just realizing right after Crimson Letters, we did the Mr. Corbett, and the first episode of Mr. Corbett, you let me do something that ended up with finding a piece of steak in the bush.
So yeah,
You overcompensated.
There's a sweet spot, right? The pendulum swung too far, but yeah, how do you? That's my own personal flaw, is that I sometimes come at the dungeon mastering or game mastering from a how would I do it as a player,
Right.
and I think that sometimes put blinders on me to what is possible, and I have to catch myself doing that and say, there's a way that what they're doing can work, and how can I make it work? And so buried in all of that is the willingness to change the situation or the story to help the game happen.
Yeah. I do that as well. And I've had to work very hard to be kind of a yes person on things. The dolphin story is a great example. Like, I probably could have just let that shit go. Like, but no, I was like, no, that's not how you're going to beat this encounter. Like, that's not how this works. But I get that from you. And the very specific example of this is that me and you have both done this. I have watched both of us do this at two very distinct times in our life, watching one of our children play Spyro.
Go back
Go back and
there.
get that gem.
Dang.
Why didn't you get it? It was literally 20 feet out of your
Quit
way.
clicking so fast and read the text that came up. It might have a clue in it.
Because I have watched Tony play Spyro, and I'm like, so you're just not gonna get those gems right there. You're just not gonna do that. You're just gonna walk straight. Okay, cool, fine. You do you.
You're not even gonna check out that door.
Okay, fine. And I remember watching you and Tim play, and you're just like, okay, so we're just not. Okay, yeah, we're just not gonna play the game. We're just. And I'm the same way, but it's Spyro specifically. Every other game, I'm like, I don't give a shit. But I'm like, it's right there. Just get it.
You see that little counter up at the top that says 5 out of 7? That's counting how many of those you get.
Get it. And I get that same thing from you. So I do that sometimes when I DM too. Like, I have a very distinct way I think it should go. And when you're not doing it, I'm like, you guys are playing it wrong.
So that is, I think that's a muscle that every DM
Has to work.
has to exercise. And I think some people are really, really good
yeah.
at it naturally.
Bridget,
And some people, Carrie.
brilliant. Both of them.
And some people, like me, have to exercise that thing and figure out, how do I get to yes?
Yeah. How do
for
I get to the
folks?
yes?
And how, even though they threw me a curveball, instead of just saying that curveball totally missed, how do I adjust the world around the actions? I mean, would it really hurt anything if maybe there was a door right there where they're looking?
Or if there was a stake in the bush.
Or they don't go to the city that you made, they went to the other city, so you just grab the whole city and put it over there. I mean, that's an
Yeah.
example of it. So sometimes we're willing to do it when it's
Easy
that's what
enough.
we wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably my biggest failing as a DM is being more elastic with the game and letting it move in ways I didn't think of when I was drawing it up or reading it.
Yeah.
That happened.
I think a lot of us, because it's hard to get outside of your own viewpoint on things, your own perspective on things, and it's hard to see outside of that. So I'm with you on that.